Good afternoon, students. Today we continue with the Unit 8 of the book 4B. The lesson C, which names is What If? And the first exercise, vocabulary expressions with make and get. So we have some words here, some sentence, and in bold we have some vocabulary. So what we need to do is to match this vocabulary, these expressions, with the corresponding definition we have in the column with the different letters like A, B, C. So we need to put the letters on the corresponding space, on the corresponding line. Also, we're going to do the exercise B, which says which statements in part A are true for you and discuss your answers. So people, first exercise today is so exercise 1. Do the exercises A and B of the lesson C, page 79. Page 77, sorry. Okay, this is the first exercise. So is this exactly exercise A, the match the statements with the correspondent and listen to it. Well, to verify the answers of this exercise, we need the listening. But at this moment, I'm not going to play it. But where can you find the listening? We go to Google or any other searcher that we can find. So let it open, and we go to Four Corners class audio. So we're going to, well, I already have it, but you can type it on Google. Let me copy the link for you. So to verify the exercise 1, you go to www.cambridge.org/us/fourcornersaudio/index.html hashtags A4. The A4 indicate that is book 4A and 4B. Well, in this moment, people, you are in. We're using the book 4B. This is the book we're using in this moment. So you have the link. Please copy and paste it to find the audios to make the verification of this exercise. This is the first activity. Let's continue. A conversation, a new boyfriend. In this exercise, this is page 78. Sorry, page 78. Exercise 2. Okay, the exercise 2 is the conversation. So what is the exercise in the answer the questions in part A and B. It means, what are the questions here? In the part A, listen to the conversation. What mistake did Alicia make? So we're going to answer this question based on the information of the text and based on the listening that we're going to listen very soon. Part B, the conversation is incomplete, so we listen to the second part. And we have also a question. Say, what's Santiago like? What gets on Alicia's nerves? So we're going to answer the questions again with the link and listening to the rest of the conversation. The rest of the conversation is not included in the books, it's only listening. The first part you have the script here, the conversation, and we're going to listen. So at the moment let's do the first part. Let's listen to the conversation to answer the question we have here. Well, I have already storage my audio here, so for me it's not necessary to download it, but in your case you can go to this link, the link that I have copied here on the exercise on the board, so you can listen and download the audio whenever you want. But I have already storaged it. I've already storaged it on my computer, so let's listen it from my computer. So as I said, listen to the conversation. A new boyfriend. So listen and pay attention.
Page 78. Exercise 2. Conversation. A new boyfriend. Part A.
So, how was Aki's party?
Well, the party was fun, but I'd forgotten it was her birthday, so I was a little embarrassed.
Why?
I didn't bring a gift. If I'd remembered, I'd have brought her something really nice.
Well, I'm sure she didn't mind.
Then, I think I made a fool of myself at the party. We all had to sing, and you know how bad my voice is.
Oh, come on.
I tried to get out of it, but I couldn't. And that's when I met Santiago. Just think, if I hadn't sung at the party, I wouldn't have met Santiago.
Santiago? Who's Santiago?
He's my new boyfriend.
Okay, then, so we have listened to the record. Now we have the answer the question in the part A. What mistake did Alicia make? Now let's go with the part B. We listen to the rest of the conversation, and then let's go to answer the two questions we have in the part B. So, but firstly, let's listen.
Part B.
So, tell me about this new guy.
Santiago? Oh, he's amazing. And if he hadn't made an effort to talk to me at the party, I would never have noticed him.
What's he like?
Friendly, talkative, funny.
What does he do?
He's an actor. He used to be on a soap opera.
Sounds like an interesting guy.
He is. But there is one thing that kind of gets on my nerves. He always talks about himself. He doesn't ask me questions very much. He really enjoys hearing his own voice.
That's not good.
Okay, people, we have listened. Very good. Now, for the next exercise, I'm going to put in bold some of the expressions we're using in the conversation. For example, in the first place, we have here if I'd remembered, I'd have brought her something really nice. This is the first expressions we're going to put in bold. We are underlining so you can identify it very easily. Okay. The next. Okay, these are the two expressions or the two sentences I am interested in. The number one says, if I'd remembered, I'd have brought her something really nice. If I hadn't sung at the party, I wouldn't have met Santiago. Like this. Well, in these expressions, let me open the board. Another board, yes, because we're using one for the exercises. Where we're using a verbal expressions, a verbal structure called third conditional. You know, in previous lesson we have talked about the zero, the first, and the second conditional. Well, the third conditional. Let's see some examples here. Okay, some examples here. You say, if I hadn't come, I wouldn't have received my gift. An example. If I hadn't come, I wouldn't have received my gift. Or let's go to put it below the okay. Or the other. Let's use another expression. Just say, if she have studied more, she'd have passed her semester. Like this. Well, obviously we have two, remember in the conditionals we have two sentences. One sentence is called the cause and the other the consequence. So let's identify. So we have the cause. Remember, the cause is always introduced by if. The cause, in both cases, the cause, and the expressions with would are the consequence or the condition, as you prefer to call it. Okay, the consequence or the condition. So in this case, if I hadn't come, or if she had studied more, is the cause. I wouldn't have received my gift, or she'd have passed her semester, is the consequence or the condition in this case. Well, the first thing we need to identify about this. Let's use a different color here. You use if plus the cause. Okay, always you use the cause with introducing it with if. Second, in the cause you use the past perfect. Remember, what is the structure of the past perfect? In the past perfect we use a past of verb to have. It means we use had, okay, plus the past participle. Remember the examples. The examples we're using here in the examples we're using here in the examples previously, okay, to explain the structure. So we can say, if I hadn't come, okay, if I hadn't come, well, in this case it's in negative, or in the second exercise, if she had studied. As I said, we had the past perfect, the verb to be in past simple, had a negative or had, and the past participle, in this case come or studied. And because this is a cause, we use if to introduce the sentence. So if I hadn't come, or if she had studied. This is the first part of of the first conditional. For the consequence or the condition, okay, for the condition or the consequence, people, we use, okay, say you use the future perfect conditional. Okay, the future perfect conditional. What is the future perfect conditional? Okay, future perfect conditional. Okay, we use would plus have plus past participle of the verbs. In the case if the would is negative, we use wouldn't. In case if it's negative, wouldn't, negative. Okay, so the structure is would, have, plus past participle of the verbs. For example, okay, let me put this a little. Okay, so for example, I wouldn't have received. I wouldn't have received, or in the second example we have here, she'd have passed. Okay, so in this case these are the these are like the two principal verbal structures we use for the third conditional. The past perfect, remember the structure of a past perfect, the verb to have in past simple plus the past participle of the verb. Because this is the cause, it is introduced by if. So if I hadn't come or if she had studied. For the consequence or the condition, we use the future perfect conditional. What is the structure of a future perfect conditional? Would or wouldn't if it's negative, have, and the past participle of the verb we have here. I wouldn't have received or she'd have passed. Well, some specifications that I want to do about this. Okay, let me increase the board. Okay, sorry. There. Okay, some specifications. You can make contractions. Okay, you can use contractions in both sentences with the past perfect and with the past and with the future future perfect conditional. For example, if you'd work harder, we have got the raise. Like this. If you work harder, we have got the raise, like this. Okay, in here we were using the contractions. Okay, if you'd, or if with. But what are the contractions in this case? So you can say if you had, so we're making contractions of had, worked harder, we would have got the raise. Okay, so this is what we're contracting here. In both cases, what is the difference? That with the past perfect, you made the contraction, but you have a past participle. But with the future conditional, for the future perfect conditional, you have have only. So we'd have got the raise, or we would have got the raise. Okay, if you'd work harder, or if you had worked harder, like this. So these are the contractions. Let's see another example. Okay, he'd have won the competition if he'd have been more honest. I'm sorry, he'd won the competition if he'd have been more honest. So he'd won in this case, or if he'd have been. So what is the contraction in this case? He no, I'm sorry. Okay, this is all wrong. So this is correct. If I've won, if he'd been. Correct. Sorry, yes, I was confusing you. Okay, he would have won the competition if he had been more honest. Okay, so in this case, he'd have won is he would have won, or if he had been, like this. So these are the contractions we use. Remember, when it's negative, what are the contractions we use? We say we wouldn't have got sick if we hadn't got wet. So in these cases with the negative, we use wouldn't and hadn't. So what are the contractions in this case? Very simple. We would not have got sick if we had not got wet, like this. So with not, the contraction, with the negative, and had not, the contraction. Okay, so these are the contractions we can use with the third conditional, like this. Well, I hope you have it clear, people. Then other specifications we have. Okay, well, at the moment I hope everything is clear. We have the structure. Remember, this is the structure. We have some examples. The verbal structures we're using, which is the past perfect and the future perfect conditional. The contractions. Now, what is next? What other specification do we need to make in this occasion? Okay, so with this we can change the order of the cause and the consequence, but they continue to be the cause and the consequence. For example, you can say, if Mario had been more attentive, his wife wouldn't have left him, like this. If Mario had been more attentive, his wife wouldn't have left him. Okay, this is good. But we can say it in the other way around. So okay, we can say Mario's wife wouldn't have left him if he been more attentive, people. Okay, if Mario had been more attentive, his wife wouldn't have left him, or Mario's wife wouldn't have left him if he'd been more attentive, like this. So in this case, well, if Mario had been more attentive is the cause. Okay, this is the cause. And again here we have the cause. Or the consequence, or the condition. Okay, consequence. Sorry, the consequence is the consequence, and here we have the consequence. Okay, so remember, when you see if and the past perfect, this is the cause. So if Mario had been more attentive, or if he'd been more attentive, like this. The consequence with the future perfect conditional, we say his wife wouldn't have left him, or Mario's wife wouldn't have left him if he'd been more attentive. We can change the order of the cause and the consequence, but anyway, if you have if and the past perfect is the cause, and the future perfect conditional is the consequence. Okay, let's use other examples to see it. For example, you can say if Gloria had been more careful, she wouldn't have had that accident. Sorry, have that accident. Let me okay, little like this. Okay, if Gloria had been more careful, she wouldn't have that accident. Or the other way around, Gloria wouldn't have had that accident if she been more careful. Remember that the she'd been in this occasion, okay, remember that she is the contraction of the past perfect, so she had been, okay, or she'd been. So this is the other specification of the third conditional. You can change the order of the two sentences, but the meaning is the same. Okay, use. What is the use of the third conditional? So number one, for hypothetical situations in past. To talk about suppositions or speculations in past. Okay. Okay. 3. To talk about imaginary situations. So we use the third conditional for one, hypothetical situations in past, two, to talk about suppositions or speculations in past, and number three, to talk about imaginary situations. Okay, people, I hope this tutorial has been very useful for you to talk about the third conditional. Remember the structure, up here, structure. This is the structure. Let me put this in the place. Okay. But the structure, the use, the contractions, and talking about the if you can change the order of the third conditional, people. Okay. So what I'm explaining this lesson today, because in the book, remember the examples from the conversation. If I'd remembered, I'd have brought her something real nice, or if I hadn't sung at the party, I wouldn't have met Santiago. This is the next exercise of this lesson, third conditional. Again, the same explanation of the contractions. So what are we going to do in this case? We're going to do exercise A and exercise B. Okay. So the next exercise is exercise 3. Points A and B, okay, of the page 79. It means what are the exercises? Are these exercises here? In the number 1 is read the conditional sentence and circle the true statements about them. So you have the sentence in the third conditional and you have two possible options to explain this sentence, so you're going to choose the corresponding one, like for example like this, something like this. You choose the number 1 where it is not. Okay, something like this or something like this. Okay, but this is just an example. And second, complete the sentences with the third conditional, then compared with a partner. Well, we're really going to compare this in class. So you have the verb normal in parentheses, the verb in the normal form, and you're going to put the verb in the third conditional. It means you're going to use the past perfect or the future perfect conditional to complete this exercise. Exercise 4, they say, if only I hadn't. They say, check the things you've done. Tell your partner the thing you've checked in part A. What would have been different if you hadn't done these things? Share your stories. We're going to practice this. We're going to do this exercise, but to practice in the class with the third conditional. Okay. So the exercise 4, okay. Okay. Points A and B. Okay, of the page 79. In this case, this exercise is to practice or to socialize, I'm sorry. To socialize in class. So this point is not going to be written. This point is going to be socialized in class. This is what we're going to do for the next class to make a verification of this. Now let's go with the next lesson. A day to remember. It's a reading. Helen Keller was 2 years old when she became ill and lost both her sight and hearing. Read the next excerpt from her book, The Story of My Life. What made March 1887 a day to remember? So what are we going to do? The first exercise is let's listen to the record and we're going to answer the question that we have in the part A. This what is the question? What made March 3rd, 1987 a day to remember? So, and in the part B they say read the excerpt again, number the events from 1 to 6. So we read the text and we're going to organize the events using numbers from 1 to 6. And see, what do you think Helen's wife was like before this day or after this day? So the exercise 5 is go to lesson D, page 80. Read and listen read and listen to the text and do the points A, B, and C of the page. The point C is to socialize in class. Okay, the point C. The point C is made to socialize in class. So let me okay. So this is what we're going to do in this part. We're going to go to lesson D, page 80, read and listen to the text and do the points A, B, and C. The point C is to socialize in class. It's not to be sent by email. But first, let's listen to the record, people, to see what is the reading. So please, let's read. Okay, this is the page 80. As you see in the book, you can find it, top of the page. Page 80. Sorry, okay. Page 80, track 51. Page 80. This is track 51. I already have them, remember. And let's listen to the record.
Lesson D. A Day to Remember. Page 80. Exercise 1. Reading. The Story of My Life.
The most important day I remember in all my life is the one on which my teacher, Anne Mansfield Sullivan, came to me. I am filled with wonder when I consider the immeasurable contrast between the two lives which it connects. It was the 3rd of March, 1887, 3 months before I was 7 years old. The morning after my teacher came, she led me into her room and gave me a doll. When I had played with it a little while, Miss Sullivan slowly spelled into my hand the word D-O-L-L. I was at once interested in this finger play and tried to imitate it. When I finally succeeded in making the letters correctly, I was filled with childish pleasure and pride. Running downstairs to my mother, I held up my hand and made the letters for doll. I did not know that I was spelling a word, or even that words existed. I simply made my fingers go in monkey-like imitation. In the days that followed, I learned to spell in this uncomprehending way many words, among them pin, hat, cup, and a few verbs, like sit, stand, and walk. But my teacher had been with me several weeks before I understood that everything has a name. One day while I was playing with my new doll, Miss Sullivan gave me my old doll too. She then spelled DOLL and tried to make me understand that DOLL applied to both. Earlier in the day, we had a struggle over two words. MUG is mug, and WATER is water, but I persisted in mixing up the two. I became impatient, and seizing the new doll, I dashed it on the floor, breaking it into pieces. I was not sorry after my fit of temper. In the dark, still world, I had no strong sentiment for anything. My teacher brought me my hat, and I knew we were going out into the warm sunshine. We walked down the path to the well house. Someone was drawing water, and my teacher placed my hand under the spout. As the cool stream gushed over one hand, she spelled into the other the word water, first slowly, then rapidly. I stood still. My whole attention was fixed upon the movements of her finger. Suddenly, I seemed to remember something I had forgotten. A thrill of returning thought, and the mystery of language was revealed to me. I knew then that the WATER meant that wonderful cool something that was flowing over my hand. That living word awakened my soul and set it free.
Okay, people, now you have listened to the record, so you can solve the exercise A, exercise B, and exercise C from the page 80 from the book 4B. Now, let's go to the page 81. It's a looking back. It's a listen to four people talk about important days in their lives. Check which day they're talking about. And also we have a part B. Listen again and check what made the day memorable. So in this first exercise, we're going to listen and we're going to answer the points A and B. So the next exercise, let me increase the zoom. Okay, so the exercise is listen and solve the exercise 2 points A and B of page 81. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So what are the exercises? The exercise A and exercise B. So let's listen to the record and pay attention so we can solve it quickly.
Page 81. Exercise 2. Listening. Looking back. 1.
I'll always remember that day. I remember it because I was so nervous and I didn't want to go. But my friend Kara was going to go to the same school, and that made me feel better. We had been students together the year before in middle school, and now we were starting high school together. We knew the next few years would be exciting, but a little scary too. We walked to school together, found our classes, and saw some other familiar faces. That was almost 20 years ago. I'm now a teacher at that same school.
2.
January 7th. I'll always remember that day. Actually, Pamela never lets me forget it. My wife Susan and I had been married for 3 years, and we'd wanted to start a family. The day my daughter Pamela was born was very magical. Susan had gone to the hospital the night before, and I met her there. My parents were there, and so were Susan's, so that made it special for us. I still have the announcement that appeared in the newspaper the next day. It's hard work being a dad, and it's a job I take very seriously. I can't imagine my life without my family.
3.
I'd always wanted to travel on my own in Europe. Some of my friends had done it. Most had traveled before they started working, but not me. I was worried about finding a job. So about a week after I finished school, I was offered a job and I took it. I worked for a couple of years, but didn't like it very much. Then, I remember one day I thought, why am I doing this? So 2 weeks later, I quit my job and said goodbye to everyone at work. Everyone was so happy for me. They gave me a party. That made it special, and I felt so great that day. I'd made good friends and gotten some experience. But I was ready to start the travel adventure I had saved for.
4.
This was about 7 years ago, I think. I was still in high school and I'd never been abroad before. I applied to a program in the US. It wasn't a long program, only 2 weeks, but I was so excited. I'd never been overseas before, you see. This was my first trip. I remember I was so nervous. What if my English wasn't good enough? What if I didn't like the food? But my older sister told me not to worry. I remember flying. I'd flown before, so that wasn't a problem. When I met my homestay family, they were so kind and friendly. That was so great. And you know what? The daughter of my homestay parents was the same age as me, and she was studying Korean in school. She was just starting, so she couldn't speak, but I helped her a lot with her homework.
Okay, people, now you have listened to the record. We can solve the exercise A and exercise B of the page 81. This is what we have here exactly in the exercise list. Let me. Okay, so remember. Exercise 1, do the exercises A, B of the lesson C, page 78. This is the audio, remember. Exercise 2, conversation. Answer the questions in part A and B. Exercise 3, point A and B, page 79, and exercise 4, paints A and B, page 79. But remember, the part 4 is only to socialize in class. It's not to be solved on the notebook or on the book. Exercise 5. Go to the lesson D, page 80. Read and listen to the text and do the points A, B, and the point C is to socialize in class. Exercise C. Listen and solve the exercise 2, point A and B of page 81. So let's continue with the lesson. We also have a writing exercise. This is writing and speaking about a memorable day. You think about a memorable day, use these ideas or your own ideas. We have the situations. We have the day you got accepted to college, the day you spoke English to a native speaker, the first time you rode a bicycle, a special celebration, your first airplane ride, your first day at a new job, or your first day at school. So these are the options you have to write about a memorable day. What is the activity? You're going to write a paragraph like this, similar to this paragraph, and you're going to answer to this question. When was it? What made the day memorable? Did you look forward to these days? What did you do that day? And how did you feel then? So you're not going to answer like question by question. No, you're going to write a paragraph where obviously you're going to answer these questions like this. Then you're going to socialize in the class. So the final exercise, exercise 7, so the exercise 7, solve exercise Okay, let's remember this is exercise 3. Yes, I was correct. Solve exercise 3, page 81. Points A and B. Okay, to write and to socialize in class. Okay, people, so you have now the 7 exercises that you're going to meet. Remember, all the exercises will be delivered by email or by the Cambridge platform, exception the exercises that are socialized, because we're going to have this revision in class. Well, we have finished the unit 8 today. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you have any questions, remember, text me on the group or write me to my email. And for the next class, we're going to start the unit 9. What are the unit 9? Can you explain it? The lessons are suffixes, a full and less, the past modal for speculations, expressing probability or expressing improbability. This is lesson B. Lesson C, mysterious events, embedded questions, and we have a reading called a myth writing a story. Okay, so thank you for your attention and see you next class.